Hi guys, welcome back to the Jamie F podcast show. You've got Jamie on. I'm just looking to speak to you guys today about my football predictions, in particular for the Premier League. It's not something I spoke about on the channel before, but I am a fan of the of football in general. Enjoy the Premier League, and a really big sort of follower. Do a lot of fantasy football, watch a lot of the games. So yeah, I think I can give. I want to give my opinions and sort of where I think things are going to go this year, and it'd be quite fun to reflect back as well at the end of the year and just see how how right or wrong I was really. So kicking things off then with what I'm going to do actually, I'm going to look at doing relegation the relegation trio. I'm going to look at doing I'm going to do the top 8. I'm going to look at maybe a surprise package team this year, top goal scorer, things like that. So yeah, starting things off, in 20th place, I'm going to go with Fulham. Not looking at their transfer business, not done a great deal this year. Not a particularly strong squad, quite an inexperienced manager in Scott Parker as well. So I just don't think they've got enough this year. Don't really think there's too much really to add to that. In 19th place, I'm going for Villa. Quite a controversial one because I know they stayed up last year. They've got that experience of surviving a Premier League and staying up, but there's that old second season syndrome. I just think as well that there's just a lack of quality in that team, and they just haven't signed anyone in particular. Obviously, the one marquee signing so far has been Ollie Watkins from the Championship. Signed him from Brentford. Can't say that I know too much about Watkins, so I don't want to comment too much on that side of things. 33 million does seem quite a lot, but again, if he was prolific in the Championship, that might translate in the Premier League. But I do think they just won't have enough this year. I think Jack Grealish will sort of give it a good go, but I think ultimately he'll be probably looking at moving away in January or in the summer. And I just don't think they'll finish on enough points this year defensively going forward. I just don't think there's enough there. In 18th, I'm going to go with West Brom. In a similar vein to Fulham, really. Not a huge amount of signings. I know they've re-signed Matheus Pereira, but other than that, I just don't think there's anything else. I know with Fulham, I know they did get Areola, Tete, but again, nothing really major there. I think with a lot of sides that come up, I think one of the big things they struggle with is goals. So yeah, I think they're my 3 to go down. I think there's going to be quite a few. I think there's going to be quite a big cluster of teams in the relegation battle. I think you like see Palace, Crystal Palace will be in the mix. West Ham could well be in the mix. Brighton could be in the mix as well. Even Leeds as well. I think they're being sort of, a lot of people think they're going to finish, sort of up at sort of mid-table-ish, upper mid-table, but you just don't know. I mean, I don't think they've got enough to break into the top 8 or 9. But they could finish 10th, 11th. But equally, they could really struggle. They could go down as well. Definitely a tough one in terms of relegation battle. But I've gone with my 3 there, which is Fulham, Villa, and West Brom. In terms of the top 8, again, this is a really difficult one this year. Gone with sort of a bit of a unique and sort of different pick, but I'm hoping that this hopefully what is a little bit different to your mainstream. So going with in 8th. Now this is a really difficult one because a lot of decent teams in the mix at the moment in that sort of top 6 to 8. I think with likes of Everton spending well, Arsenal brought players in. I think there's going to be a bit more. It's going to be again quite competitive in that cluster between, sort of 3rd, 4th, 5th, down maybe down to 8th. So it could be very competitive this year. I'm going to go at 8th with Leicester City. I think they have got a very good team, but I think they've lost Chilwell this year. Haven't really signed anyone new. Players getting a year older. Again, that can benefit, but I feel like key players like Vardy, are they going to be as influential this year? No, I'm recording this, there's been a couple of games. There's been the Saturday and Sunday fixture so far. Obviously, Leicester have won 3-0 against West Brom. Vardy scored 2 goals, but they were 2 pens. Again, how many is he going to get from open play? I just don't know. So I am going to go with Leicester in 8th, and in 7th, I'm going to look at going for Arsenal in 7th. Difficult one again. Again, it could have gone either way. But I just don't think they've signed enough. I think they've a couple of good players, Gabriel, Willian, and Ceballos as well. So a couple of decent players they've brought in. But I just don't think they've got enough. I think they might go on a good cup run again. Maybe League Cup, FA Cup, maybe even Europa League. Have a good run at that. But I just don't think they'll do enough in the league. I think what Arteta's doing, I think there is progression there, but I just don't think there'll be enough. In 6th, I've gone for Spurs. I think again under Mourinho it could go either way. Spurs could have a great year. Equally, I just don't think they'll have it. I just don't think they will. Obviously, Matt Doherty is a good signing, very solid right back. Don't think there's too much in the way of signings for Spurs so far. That typically don't tend to spend a lot of money anyway. But I just think that with Harry Kane's injury record, I just don't know how sustained they're going to be under a Mourinho system as well. I just think that I think it could easily go wrong under Mourinho, and he could get fired halfway through the season, or he might have to prioritise the cup or something like that. Maybe Europa League, FA Cup, League Cup. He might focus on silverware rather than a league position this year. So then in 5th, obviously, got Arsenal and Spurs quite low down. So actually going for 5th for Everton, I think that they've made some phenomenal signings. I think Doucouré, Allen really shore up that midfield and defence. Also bringing in James as well was a very good signing. They've got Ancelotti in there now as well. So again, I think he's going to get them playing a good brand of football. I think there'll be a lot of belief, and genuinely think they'll really push for top 4. I just think they're going to come up short though. So I just don't think that they're going to ultimately break into that top 4. But getting on to my top 4 now. So this is where really it's so difficult to call. Top 8, well, obviously going 5th to 8th is difficult, but this top 4 is incredibly difficult to call. I've gone for quite a controversial one in 4th. Actually gone for Liverpool in 4th. Looking at their transfer business this year, not made any signings of any significance. I know they're linked with Thiago, they may get other players, but at the moment their squad is very lacking at the moment in terms of additional bodies in there. I think a lot of people have kind of got Liverpool a little bit low down this year. Some have got them to win the league again. There is that old argument that they've been going full throttle for 2 or 3 years now, and can they sustain that? If they get injuries, can it be sustained? Is the hunger there? I think it might be a combination of all them factors, which might actually lead to them sort of finishing further out than what they'd like. So I do actually think that they will finish 4th this year. Put in, for me, in 3rd, Chelsea. Now, Chelsea could go on and win the league. I mean, it's one of them years where it's so hard to call. Chelsea haven't played yet at the time of recording, so that they could absolutely blow teams out of the water, and they could comfortably beat Brighton this week and go on to fantastic form with the signings they've made. Ziyech, Werner, just that plethora of really good players. Obviously Thiago Silva to improve that defence. They've signed Havertz as well, Ben Chilwell to improve the defence as well. So Pulisic obviously, is going from strength to strength. So, Kovacic and Kante as well. So they do have an excellent side, and it really wouldn't surprise me if they really push this year and potentially do well in the Champions League as well. But I just think that they're going to finish out not as high as what they'd like, but because I think it's going to take a lot of time for them players to blend in, and will they? will they bed in as quickly as what people think? Obviously, it's all well and good making a load of signings, but it's obviously them gelling together as a team, because effectively they've signed half a team, and they're essentially all starters. So 5 out of their 11 players are going to be brand new. So it is difficult integrating that many new players into a squad, all quite high profile. Can Fran Lampard handle that pressure as well, and the personalities? I'm sure he probably can, but it could be a difficult one for him. May not do as well as expected, and obviously this year he's under a lot more pressure than last year. It was very much a free hit last year. Did exceptionally well to finish in the top 4, actually, in the grand scheme of things, and that's a fantastic finish. But yeah, I just think that this year is going to be different to last, and I think that they'll certainly show progression, but maybe not as much as they'd like this year. Then in second, so we've got both of the Manchester clubs left. Now I'm actually going to go second for Manchester City. I think that they will. I think they'll have a better year this year. But again, they've not really made a huge amount of signings. They've lost David Silva last year. They lost Company, so they have lost some veterans from the squad, and I wonder how that's going to affect the young players, and whether that's going to allow them to flourish, or whether actually they miss that experience in the dressing room. I just think City are going to do reasonably well this year, but I do think that I don't know. I just feel like they're on a little bit of a downward trajectory. I just don't think they're the same as what they were a couple of years ago. Which then, obviously, in first place leaves Manchester United. I think that it's a difficult one because United haven't made a lot of signings. Van der Beek is a very good signing, adds a lot of cover in midfield, and potentially a starter, or definitely a very good squad player to help obviously during a long season. But I do think with Rashford, Martial, Greenwood really starting to gel sort of from the back end of last year, the football was improving, to the Bruno and Pogba connection. Matic looks like a revived player, although I don't think he's going to be necessarily a 50-60 game player a season, but he might come in for 30-40 games, maybe come on late into some games, come off early some games. Good cover in Fred and McTominay. Not a perfect side by any means. Obviously, the bringing back Henderson provides good cover for De Gea, so there's good competition there, and that competition could go one or two ways. It could put undue pressure on one keeper, and then the keeper who's missing out could then put pressure on them. But I think with obviously De Gea and Henderson being two top professionals, I do think it'll push each other on. I think it's very difficult because they're now both on quite a significant amount of money. I think between them they're on near enough $500,000 a week. Obviously De Gea probably on about 300, 350. Henderson's on about 120, 150, something like that. So they're on quite a bit of money. So it's difficult because actually getting rid of either of them is difficult with the wages they're on. I think that Henderson probably the future of the club, and I think De Gea may end up going back to Spain and seeing out in his career in the next couple of years over there. I think they'll compete, but I think ultimately neither one of them keepers in a couple of years' time will want to be second fiddle to the other one. I think they both want to be first choice keeper and getting the majority of games this year. So it's going to be a difficult one, balancing it, integrating both in, giving them both reasonable play time and game time, and obviously making sure that you get that continuity with the defence. But I think it does add quality ultimately to the goalkeeper position. I think I think defensively, I think United were solid last year. Wan-Bissaka, I think he just got very tired towards the end of the year. Timothy Fosu-Mensah come back as well towards the end of the year. Brandon Williams obviously had a good year as well. Again, not perfect, but he showed good signs of improvement. So yeah, definitely a challenging. It's definitely going to be. It was definitely been a challenging one to pick who will win the league this year. But I just think from the form from last year, potential signings as well. I've not talked about that yet. So there's still the market's is still open. So United are heavily linked with Jadon Sancho, which I think probably will happen. Possibly get another one in as well, at least maybe left back. So they've been linked with Tellez, they've been linked with Regulon, also centre backs as well, been linked with potentially as well. So I do think that there is potential for United to get more players in, strengthen that squad more, and add in some key positions. I just think from the form of last year, I just think they'll push on, and I think they will win the league this year, which is crazy, but certainly an out there prediction. And I have been really up, sort of on the fence. I think at certain points in the last couple of weeks, I thought Chelsea. I thought Chelsea would do it. I thought City would do it, Liverpool. So it's been so difficult, but that's my sort of top four anyway. That could get that could be really fluid, and that could obviously change. I think all them positions are interchangeable, but I do think my prediction of Liverpool in fourth, Chelsea third, Man City in second, and United in first is hopefully a decent prediction. And I think that I think that's how it's going to end up. In terms of surprise package of the year, goes without saying really, but Manchester United, I think, definitely up there. Obviously to win the league, I don't think anyone would expect them to do that this year. Everton as well. I've got them to finish in fifth. I think they'll have an exceptional year this year. Leeds United are maybe a shout as well, but I think a lot of people obviously have got quite high expectations of Leeds, so I'm going to go with United for the standout or surprise package for the year. And then top goal scorer, it's a tough one, because again you've got likes of Werner, Martial, potentially Aubameyang, Vardy. So many good options. Aguero if he stays fit, Kane if he stays fit. I'm going to go with... Who am I going to go with? I think it'll be Aubameyang this year, just about. I think he'll do really well for Arsenal in terms of goal scoring, but I just think that they are still quite frail. I don't think they'll do well enough this year, despite Aubameyang having another great year. But yeah, I think that's for me, my predictions. Hope you enjoy. And yeah, we'll revisit this, maybe have some further reviews through the season, see how things are going, maybe reevaluate some of the decisions, some of the predictions I've made now, and definitely we revisiting this at the end of the season and see obviously where things have finished, and see how I do, and see if I've made an absolute idiot of myself, or whether I've actually got ahead of the curve and called things really early. So that's everything from me. Thank you for listening, and take care. If you could like, comment and subscribe as well, that'd be great. Share the page. Hopefully the quality is going to keep improving of the content. I'm going to get a good mix of content out there. Hopefully attract a bigger audience, and I'd love to see this channel grow. Thanks for listening. Take care.